We are Team M, and we are looking into Gazprom and the price of Brent crude oil. We will first introduce key information and figures of our company, then explain our choice of two dependent variables and compare them to the historical Brent crude oil prices. Identify any extra relevant events which may have influenced our dependent variables. Explain the process and method of calculating our 6 prediction range figures, and stating our findings and concluding our results. Gazprom is a publicly traded company where over 50% of their shares are owned by the Russian government. They are the largest extractor of natural gas in the world, accounting for about 17% of global natural gas production. The company's operations include many back-end supply-side activities such as exploration, production, transportation, storage, and processing of natural gas. The company also sells crude oil and oil condensate, but the primary product is the supply of natural gas. Gazprom's main customer groups are power industries, metallurgy, and agrochemistry. Geographical sales distribute primarily to Russia and Europe. For our choice of two dependent variables, we thought stock price and natural gas price predictions would be the most interesting to analyze and report to the management team of Gazprom, as gas prices have traditionally been closely related to oil price, and stock prices are key indicators of company performance. We noticed that there were about half a year price lag time between the oil and gas prices, as we will see in the following slides. On slide 9, we will talk a bit about relevant events which may have also influenced our chosen dependent variable. Using publicly available data, we were able to graph the stock and natural gas price for the past 2 years. We also graphed the price fluctuations of Brent crude oil for the past 2 years as the dependent variable to analyze if there were any underlying relationship between the dependent and independent variables. Here we have two graphs, one depicting the Russian trader's stock price of Gazprom converted to US dollars, and one depicting the Brent crude oil price in US dollars. The values of the Gazprom graph are multiplied by 25 to make the comparison visually easier to understand. We can see that the trend lines generated are practically parallel and that there is a strong correlation between the two variables. Here we have two more graphs, one depicting the Brent crude oil prices in the US dollars and also the natural gas prices in the last 2 years. The values of natural gas prices The value of the natural gas price graph are also multiplied by 25 to make the comparison visually easier to understand. Here the correlation is not as obvious as in the previous graph, but given the estimate price lag, the trend lines would become more closely correlated as gas prices fall in the next half a year. Despite the positive correlation of oil price and stock price deduced from the previous slides, we understand that there were other major key events such as the sanctions Russia faced from the West, which would have had an influence on the dollar-converted stock price as the Russian ruble decreased in value against the dollar. We used the web article mapping feature of a data analytics tool called Quid to visually examine the periods in which the global media was publishing articles on the topic of Western sanctions on Russia. We thought these news would damage the confidence of Gazprom shareholders, and after comparing the Quid timeline view of the published date of the articles to the share price of the company, we can conclude that the sanctions may have had an effect on the stock price of Gazprom. For the prediction process, we will first make our Brent crude oil predictions by analyzing expert opinions and organizational reports, together with our Excel analysis. Then we will use RStudio together with our range predictions for each of the year-end to estimate the impact of our two dependent variables. We understand that there may be other potential influence on our dependent variables such as additional Western sanctions and also the relationship between two dependent variables. However, we will ignore these qualitative factors in our quantitative analysis. By understanding what caused the changes in the price, we could find out which factors affect price the most. For example, during 2003, the price rose above $30 per barrel, reached $60 by 2011 of August 2005, and peaked at $147.30 in July 2008. This may have been caused by thriving economies such as China and India quickly becoming large oil consumers. Despite occasional dramatic news such as hurricanes in the Gulf of Mexico in September 2005, turmoil in Nigeria in 2006 to 2008, and ongoing strife in Iraq, global oil production in 2000s have been remarkably stable. The big story has been not a dramatic reduction in supply, but rather a failure of production to increase between 2005 and 2007. The recession caused demand for energy to shrink in late 2008 to $32 per barrel. High oil prices and economic weaknesses contribute to a demand contraction in 2007 to 2008. In the second half of 2014, the price dropped by almost half, and the likely explanations of this is the increase in shale gas production in the US and the fact that OPEC did not cut the rate of production. Here we have a slide with the predictions of price of Brent crude oil at the end of 2015 and 16. We took into account historical data and predictions made by experts such as IMF, Barclays, World Bank, etc. This allows us to make predictions that the range of the price of barrel in 2015 would be between $50 to $60, and in 2016 prices will be between $55 and $75 per barrel. This also follows our negative regression line generated from the historical Brent crude oil prices in the past 2 years. Here is an R graph showing the correlation between Brent crude oil price and Gazprom US dollar stock price. This data generated a stock to oil correlation value of 0.858149, which is quite high. Because our data shows that these two variables are closely related, we can with confidence use this correlation to predict the future Gazprom stock price depending on our oil price estimates. Our estimates calculated through prediction methods in R are presented at the bottom of the screen, where we add and subtract the error term at each range endpoint. Our final prediction range for the Gazprom US dollar stock price is the following. At the end of 2015, we predict that the stock price of Gazprom converted to US dollars will be in the range of $2.03 to $2.46. And for the end of 2016, we predicted that the stock price of Gazprom converted to US dollars will be in the range $2.21 to $2.97. Here is an R graph showing the correlation between Brent crude oil price and the price of natural gas in US dollars. The correlation is not as strong as in the previous slides, but we will still note a correlation value of 0.4153273. We base our future predictions of the natural gas prices of this data as the two commodities are quite closely related. Our estimates calculated through predictions methods in R are presented at the bottom of the screen, where we add and subtract the error terms at each range endpoint. Our final prediction range for the natural gas prices is the following. At the end of 2015, we predict that the price of natural gas will be in the range $3.26 to $3.49. And for the end of 2016, we predict that the price of natural gas will be in the range of $3.32 to $3.65. In conclusion, we present the predicted price range of our three variables for each of the year-ends 2015 and 2016. So for 2015 predictions, our Brent crude oil price range predictions are between $50 and $60. For Gazprom stock price range, $2.03 to $2.46. For natural gas price range, $3.26 to $3.49. For 2016 predictions, the Brent crude oil price range is between $55 to $75. The Gazprom stock price range between $2.21 to $2.97, and the natural gas price range is between $3.32 and $3.65. Thank you.